On the last episode of This Old Hot Rod, we started fabricating a Decklid skin from scratch.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by, it doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am home?
Let's get this cut out. Basically what I need to do is just rough cut it, and then I'll go up top to my jump shear, and then I'll finish it off with that.
I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone. Wait, hold on. Put me together.
Alright, let's head up top and get this cut in the jump shear.
I want it all. I had a feeling, but the feeling is all gone.
I gotta break the two edges going down the sides, and then the front and the back I'll probably do by hand with the hammer, because I don't want to break those edges and have them end up in the wrong place, because of the curvature of the deck lid. I don't want to run short on the metal and have it be too small and then not be able to mount it the way it needs to be. So I'm going to wait to break at least one edge, if not the front and the back. Alright, so my battery died when I was cutting this sheet metal. I'm trying to get this camera right. So this is my structure. You guys have already seen this. And here is sheet metal. So what I'm doing is I'm not going to attach the sheet metal to the framework, because there's so much framework in the corners I wouldn't be able to louver it. So I'm gonna put this to the side for now, and I already started my layout for my louvers. I got my 1.5 inch space off of each side. I'm gonna do my 1.5 inch space across the top. And then I have my center mark. So my louver guys are 3 inches. All right, let's try this again. So now what I'm going to do is I'm getting my punch lines all set up. So I got my center line. I marked my center. And then we're going to do 1.5 inches on this side. That's my cut line. And 1.5 inches on this side. So that's one row of louvers I'm going to do. And when I write center, I mean it's the center of my louver punch. That's my cut edge. This is going to be my space. Space. Let's just do that for now, it's easier. Alright, so I'm going to repeat the process on this side, and then we're going to start the layout of the actual louvers. So what I'm going to need to do is, I'm going to need to figure out what I'm going to use for a handle. So I'm going to make sure I don't do any louvers in this area right here. So I just want to get something to basically block this area off. Go down to here with my louver in this row, and I won't go any further because I'm going to want a handle there. Some guys do angles, some guys do angles on the top. I'm just going to run them straight down. Alright, so at this point, I know I keep saying that, it probably sound like a broken record, but I've got all the lines laid out on my Decklid panel on the sheet metal. Hopefully you can see that. I have my spaces marked out with these lines, the word space, lines, every third line. This line here is my center line. Each center line for each row of louvers is marked, center, center, center. I'm just going to use the guidelines on either side. These lines is my guide. And we're going to punch the first louver and then just continue on the whole panel and try to get this panel done. Let's at least try to get one row of these done, and then I'll have to shut it down for a little while. Alright, this is ready to go. Another day, another Girl Scout cookie. Yum yum. And another project to work on the hot rod. Alright, you guys seen what I was doing? We last left off on the last episode of this old hot rod. We started fabricating a Decklid skin from scratch. This is what we were working on. I had some running around to do yesterday, and this is where I left off. So you can see I got the first 4 rows of louvers punched. What I did was I went down one side first, and then what I do, and this probably isn't the way to do it, but I'll run a straight edge here. I'll make a measurement from the back edge to the edge of this. I'll mimic it on this side, make sure everything is square. I will then clamp down my straight edge onto my sheet metal, like so. And then I'll follow this edge. That will be the cutting edge of each louver. I'm going to go all the way down till I get to here. I'm going to go around. That's going to be where my handle's going to be. I still don't know what I'm going to use for a handle. I've been trying to rack my brain with things that I have hanging on the wall and I thought I had an interior door handle for a 33. I know I did, but I'm not seeing it at the moment. Eventually I'll find it. I might have thrown it in one of my buckets. I might have threw it in one of my buckets for Carlisle this past fall. Try to sell it for a couple of bucks, but I don't remember selling it. The structure that I fabricated yesterday, I'm happy with the way that came out. I got these that unfortunately someone polished up. I wish they hadn't. I wish they were still a little rusty. Alright, yeah, so I'm gonna forget about the handle for the moment, and I'm gonna get back to work on my deck lid panels. So I'm gonna continue where I left off. I'm gonna grab some gloves.
Ruled by the laws above, nature shows me clouds mountain now, rise above the clouds to see. Oh, the force of chemistry strong.
That should be where I need my louver to be punched.
Ain't looking back, ain't looking, oh, ain't looking back, ain't looking, yeah, ain't looking back, ain't looking, oh, ain't looking back, oh, ain't looking back. Ooh, ain't looking back. Ain't looking back. Ain't looking back. Ain't looking back. Ain't looking back.
All right, so the next thing we're gonna do, we got the deck lid skin all punched out, looking good. The next thing I need to do is I need to clean off all these marker marks. I'm gonna get these cleaned off. Then we're gonna get dry fitted on the frame over here. My batra died. What I was saying was, I need to get some acetone, get all these Sharpie marks removed before I install it on the car. Once that's done, I'm gonna lay it on top of the frame here. Once it's laid on top of the frame, I'll make some marks where, let me just move this out of the way. I'll make some marks where I need to focus my shrinking. And then up here, I'm gonna have to stretch the metal on either side of the deck lid skin. So shrinking here and stretching, very minimal stretching here. So I can get the shape of the deck lid. I don't wanna put the deck lid on flat and have it pull in any direction. I wanna be able to have it, get the metal as close to the shape of the deck lid skin as I can without forcing it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my shrinker stretcher, which I have here. I have the stretching dies. They're already in it from the last time I used it. So that will be focused more on the top edge, which is this edge here. So it'll be very minimal stretching on either side. And then it's gonna probably be somewhere in this range here, all the way down to roughly towards the end. At the end, once I know exactly how my deck lid skin's gonna fit, I'll have to notch these, cut these back, so then I can fold this top edge down, and then fold this bottom edge down. And then I'll at least get it close, and then after that I'll be able to finish the rest of it with a hammer and dolly, or just a hammer, and then get it welded to the frame. Once it's welded to the frame, I'll be able to at least set it on the car. You guys saw the hinges that I bought. I did design the frame to go with these hinges. However, I'm still not 100% convinced I want to use them, because they're a little too shiny. But we'll see. I'll figure something out. right, guys, let's get to shrinking and stretching. Okay, so as I had said, I need to focus my stretching in this area here, about to the second louver on both edges. Then once I get that set, I'll then start shrinking from roughly here, actually a little bit further back. This entire area here will be shrunk. I'll use the shrinker die again on both sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the bottom 7 rows of louvers, and then the top 2 rows. The rest of it is fairly flat, and that should lay down on there just fine. When I punch the louvers, this panel seemed to belly a little bit. I'm hoping I can get some of the crown back out of it. It should just kind of automatically do that on its own. It's not going to take much. There we go. Just those 2 little pumps on the stretcher, and you can see the difference. All right, so what we're going to do, I did 2 on each side. What we're going to do is I'm going to switch this out, throw my shrinker dies in. I actually did it this time without dropping them. It's going to be a good day. That's one pump on the stretcher, 1 pump on the shrinker, each side. It would help if I put it on the right way. All right, I'm pretty close already. I think what I need to do is just focus here on the back edge. The rest of it I think is pretty good, but definitely here towards the end. So I'm gonna focus, I'm gonna get rid of this. I'm gonna focus from here to say here. So 1, 2, 3. That actually kinda, I did only 1, I only did 2 bends, so I may end up having to shrink this just a little bit to drag this back down. Move that up so it's overhanging about 1/4 of an inch. And that should put this back edge about 1/4 of an inch over, which it does. All right, I'm gonna get some clamps and make sure this is fitting the way I want it to. And then, like I said, I have a lot of Sharpie marks on the back edge that I need to remove before I secure this all as one piece. And then it'll just be a matter of figuring out exactly how it is I'm gonna mount it. It almost looks too nice to put hinges on. All right, time to get to welding, I think. You know what? I'm gonna clean up the metal on the edge of this frame. On the actual structure, I didn't do that yesterday. I'm gonna clean all this up, get all the mill scale off of it so I know I'll get some good welds. I cleaned up all this metal yesterday with the SCT. So, it's gonna take a minute and do that on this. Alright guys, my battery didn't die. My SD card filled up on my GoPro. I've been filming for a while. I apologize. So what I ended up doing is I just ended up finished welding that last bit, but then I got a little ahead of myself, and what I did was I curled this bottom edge over and then welded it to the frame. I'll show you. But then I ended up having to cut it apart and put this flange out because there's a lip here. So you can see I folded it down onto the framework, you know, clamped it and hammered it, and then I ended up clamping it to the table, hammering it back out. I took the cutoff wheel, cut all the welds, and then I ended up flattening it out and re-welding it, and I also re-welded it on the inside. Sorry for the glare from the lights. So it needed to fit down onto that channel. And like I had said, again, it's not, I haven't hinged it yet. So it's time to do that. It'll obviously lift up to the body height, and then at some point I am gonna have to fix this. So again, I'm really bummed that my SD card filled up, but you can see the shape of it. It fits way better than that thing ever did. It'll come up again once I mount the hinges, but you can see the contour of it. I'm super happy with it. It looks like a cheese grater. Screams hot rod right there. I think I'll have plenty of ventilation now. I already took a scribe and scribed out where they sit on both sides. So next is going to be squaring up so I can get the center mark, and I can get it marked out where the holes need to be drilled, and then I'll get these holes drilled, at least on the body side. I'll get the hinges mounted from underneath, and then I'll be able to attach it to the deck lid. But what I need to do is I'll need to shim up the deck lid to get it up to the height that it needs to be resting at, so I can make sure I get an accurate mark with the scribe. I modified this hinge, you can see on the bottom where it's clean metal. I tried to cut it and make it smoother or flatter because of the profile of the deck lid. This part of the hinge had an arc and it wasn't going to sit right. I'll show you that on this one. You can see how there's an arc on this. You should be able to see there's an arc there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to modify this one as well. I may have to modify that one a little bit more still because it's still a slight arch to it, but we'll see how it mounts. If it mounts okay, I'll leave that one and just modify this one so it matches, but if they both need to be modified, I'll do that. So like I said, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get these marks, these holes marked out and get those drilled. Metal's so thin, this just went right through it. Alright. So I got the 6 holes drilled. They're pretty good size, and the reason why they're the size they are is they have to fit the outer diameter of the mount, and that actually drops down into the holes like that, and it'll stay there. So now what I got to do is I got to find the hardware that's going to fit into these, make sure they're not going to be too long. I don't want to crack or damage these. It actually looks like this one's cracked. It may be a casting flaw. I hope it's a casting flaw. Yeah, so let's get some hardware for these and get at least the body side mounted. So a lot of people had mentioned early on they didn't like the original hinges that I had on this deck lid here. So Even though those hinges came from underneath the dash of a 37 Ford. I don't exactly know what they were for, but I bought them in a parts lot from an early Ford guy out of an estate, and they had been sandblasted, epoxied, and they were labeled with masking tape. 37 Ford under dash. All right, besides that, a lot of people didn't like them. They just didn't think they fit the car. At the time, I was like, hey, whatever, it's a race car. They're hinges, they work. So a lot of people had mentioned that the reason why I said that is a lot of people mentioned you should use shoebox Ford Decklid hinges, 4950. I have a set of those, and I had originally put those on the original Decklid that I had built, but they open funny because the curvature of the top of a 4950 Ford, it's not flat, they're curved. So the Decklid hinges that I just put on are the same problem, have the same issue. I'll show you guys what that is. All right, so if you look at this Decklid hinge, it looks like it opens straight. However, when you put it down, the actual hinge mechanism is on an angle. So this actually opens like this. It's not perfectly straight up and down. So it kind of creates a little bit of an issue with the way that the Decklid may open, and I'm a little nervous because I obviously don't want there to be an issue. Again, you can see this Decklid is leaned this way. Now I could flip them, so this one's this way, this one's this way. I could flip them, and I may do that. However, I'm gonna try to mount them. I'm gonna mount them the way they are now. If it doesn't work and they bind, I'll end up flipping them from side to side. But I just wanted to show you guys that was the reason why I didn't use shoebox hinges. Luckily for me, there's a little bit of play in these, and it will actually, there's only in that one really. It'll get me a little bit of movement, some side to side movement on the hinges. It'll actually work in my benefit. So what I need to do now is I need to get, this Decklid's basically sitting right where I want it. It's a little high over here. You know, there's no latch yet. I think it did tweak just a little bit. It's really nice on this side. It's got a really nice fit to it. You can see how it really matches up nice. Whereas this side, it's got a little bit higher of a crown. I mean, not much. We're talking even 1/8 of an inch. What I need to do is I need to get those hinges, the locations scribed, and then figure out exactly where the holes are gonna go. I did end up cutting these down, so these two like end holes or top holes are kind of compromised a little bit. There's a little bit of thread left, but I'm primarily gonna just focus on these two holes on both the hinges. After I get those done, I'm gonna walk away from the Decklid unless I can find a handle, but I'm not gonna kill myself to get that done. I don't know at this point what I'm gonna do still with the car. I don't have any intentions on painting the car. However, I'm thinking about taking my Contour SCT, cleaning up all the metal, and spraying it with a matte clear, an automotive matte clear, to keep it from rusting, to give it the appearance of the aluminum. So it will kind of look like an aluminum Decklid, even though it's not. Let me know what you guys think of that. The reason I say that is if I paint that, it's just not gonna look good. It's just really gonna be out of place. And at least in my brain, if I leave it looking aluminum, it will kind of go with the rest of the car. Looking good. I love the look of the 35 wires also. All right, so let's get to scribing out these hinges and getting the holes drilled so I can get this Decklid mounted and get it opening and closing, and then that'll be it for me for the day. I'm just about out of propane, so I'm gonna go tomorrow morning, fill up my propane tanks, and prepare for some more work to get done on the T. The sheet metal Decklid that I said I was gonna build. These are 36 DeSoto 4-door sedan trunk hinges. I got them to mount. I don't have a handle, so I gotta very carefully stick my finger into one of these louvers. I need to add a prop to the deck lid. I can't seem to get the bolt to line up, so I'm gonna pull it back off and re-drill the hole. And same one here, it's just a touch off. It almost starts to go, but I don't really want to force it. So you guys saw what I used for my dimple die. It was just the cover of a welding bottle, a tank from my acetylene tank. You know, they're not perfect, but they certainly look pretty good. The trunk lid fits the opening really well. I had to tap this over here with a hammer a little bit to get that to fit a little better. You can see get a pretty good gap going all the way up. Gets a little tight right here at the very top, but that's okay. This side, it's open a little bit more. I do have a little bit of adjustment in the hinges, and when I pull it apart and re-drill the holes, I'll make sure that I kind of shift it over, you know, like a 1/16 of an inch on the passenger side. I kind of push down on it to get it to fit, and it went down no problem. This side had a good fit pretty much right from the start. Couple of my louvers are just a touch off, just a hair off. I don't think anybody would notice. I didn't notice until I really got down and looked at it, you know, at this level here. But again, no one's gonna notice. You can see where there's still a little bit of a gap underneath the deck lid, underneath the hinges, where the hinges and the deck lid meet. There's really nothing I can do to it about that. Maybe put a spacer under there or something, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Again, it's just a hot rod. It's already gone too far at this point. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to be it for me, this video. I'm going to wrap this up now. That was me finishing off the building for a brand new louvered deck lid for the Model T Roadster from scratch. So if you've ever wanted to or needed to do something like that, follow the process that I used. I used 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, 16 gauge steel for the tubing. You saw the homemade die that I made. I just happened to have a little bit of tubing left over that I actually purchased when I got the big hydraulic press. We just kept grabbing steel and chunks of steel and all types of stuff, and that was in one of the buckets of stuff. So I used that piece of tubing, that big large round piece of metal. You don't have to use that. You could use something else, a block of wood. But you saw how I did that. It's just a homemade tool, so you don't need big fancy tools to do some of this. The only real fancy tool that I used was my jump shear, which again, I didn't need to use. And then also the louver press to punch the louvers. Tell you what, I'm not always proud of myself at a lot of the things I do. I'm proud of myself because I get things done, but I don't always slow down and take my time and make stuff really nice on this particular car. On 34 I did, on my sedan I did, on my 30 coupe I did, but on this car, it originally started out, it was just going to be an old hot rod, old race car. It's certainly gone up a few notches. I had a few buddies call me already. I sent some pictures too, and they said, I remember when that car was just going to be a quick build, a hot rod race car build, real quick build. It's kind of morphed into something a little, you know, a little more refined, let's call it. But I'm really happy with the finished look, and I hope you guys appreciate the video and you know, the kind of the step-by-step process. A few bumps in the road with the camera, so that's why I didn't film the end of, you know, the installation, drilling the holes and things like that, just because I wanted to keep the process going. I only had so much time this afternoon. Got to head back in the house and got to get editing videos. So appreciate everybody following along. If you haven't already, if you like the videos, you like what I'm doing, go back to my YouTube homepage. You'll see the subscribe. You hit that button right next to subscribe. You'll see a little bell. Click on that bell, and once you do that, you'll get notified each time I post up a video. put out videos every Wednesday and every Saturday. So for you guys to enjoy, and it motivates me to get out in the garage and keep working on this car. So I'm getting really excited. I got a lot of cool parts. I got a vintage fuel regulator coming in the mail, which is cool old fuel regulator. It's a filter reg, I believe it's called. And what else do I have? A couple of other, I got this really cool vintage old school battery shut off. I believe it's from a boat. I think it's gonna look really good right there, you know, in the back of the car. Yeah, there's just a lot of neat little things, odds and ends and trinkets and doodads that are coming for the car. And again, I just keep saying I'm really excited. I'm sitting here looking at it and it's just cool. Yeah, I'll spin you guys around. As I'm talking to you guys, that's what I'm looking at. It's pretty motivating, to say the least. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.